I hope I'll be worthy of that. I will talk a little bit about establishing connections with people, networking, creating a profile within a research community. And so, I kind of was thinking about this, and I was thinking about this new business venture, right? So I'm at the starting point here of just having finished your PhD or nearly finishing your PhD, and you're new to the field, and so what is the position you are in at that time? And so I guess to some extent it mirrors this new business venture. So you typically have not so good of a track record, or not so extensive yet, or maybe none. You have little relationships with the major players in your field. Of course, you all here at UQ have good supervisors, but sometimes you're in a position where you may not have very good support from your supervisor, and sometimes you lack a distinct profile as a researcher. So these are kind of the starting conditions that you sometimes need to start off with. Your task would be to kind of try to improve in these areas. And so I have to say up front that, Nicole is saying these wonderful things about me, but I didn't have a plan when I was doing all of this. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a strategy. I just did things, and it just happened. And I wasn't thinking strategically at all during my PhD. And I have to say that I'm starting to do that a little bit more now. So I kind of I learned some lessons, and now I can use that to my benefit. But at the time, so basically everything that I'm saying is retrospective sense making. Right? At the time, I didn't know what I was doing. In hindsight, of course, it all makes sense. So a couple of things on strategies. I was thinking about what types of strategies are there. And so basically, there are multiple strategies that can complement each other, in terms of building connections and creating a profile. I think it's good to realize that these strategies should be long-term strategies, right? I'm assuming that you will be in academia, or you will want to stay in academia. You're going to do this for the rest of your life, and you're going to work with and meet all these colleagues within your research area for the rest of your life. So, these should be long-term investments and strategies. And then, like you said, you can have like the formal strategies, or the formal, you can make connections, create a profile through formal systems, but then there's also a lot of the informal and relational side. So I guess, this topic kind of picks up on that. So I'm already spoiling my four insights or four strategies that you could use, which again are just retrospective sentiment. So get to know your community, right? You are joining a community of researchers, a certain area perhaps. Become an active contributor within that community. Collaborate with, preferably leading scholars in your field. Could be a wonderful experience. And then, of course, creating that distinct profile. Now, I'll be talking about each of these four things, and of course, we can debate about whether they're probably all interrelated. These are not four distinct strategies, I guess. These are the kind of the things that I kind of came up with. If I had to give you some advice, then this would be it. And I can talk a little bit in more detail about what I did with respect to each of these strategies. So one thing is get to know your community, right? So how do you get to know your community? Conferences are an obvious way to get to know your community. And then, you have the major conferences like the Academy, but then you may also have these niche conferences, these smaller conferences that are particular to your topic. So, for instance, my area, which is trust research, you have this trust workshop, which is really a small kind of conference where only 100 plus people come to, and that's actually a really nice way to get to know these people, right? Because the Academy, there are maybe 12,000 people, if not more, walking around, and you can kind of feel lost and sometimes have difficulty finding the people, connecting to them. But actually at these small conferences, it's actually really nice. You can actually get to talk to people within your area. So I would definitely recommend that to complement going to these major events. And so within the academy, you can do all sorts of things like social hours and these junior faculty or PhD consortia. So these are actually wonderful things. I've attended both of them, and basically there are sessions that give you advice. There are more experienced people out there that will give you advice on how to manage all kinds of aspects of your career, kind of similar as this session, you could say. But then on top of that, you also, because you're with a group of fellow PhD students or junior faculty, you also get to know them. So there's this dual benefit, I would say. I kind of had a hard time thinking up of pitfalls or disadvantages. But one thing, well, at least for conferences and consortia, would be, of course, that you need to get usually you need to get a paper accepted, and for a consortia you also have to apply. It's like a selected group. So that's a potential hurdle. I can imagine that you have to kind of get over. So building relationships with leading scholars. This is my personal story, and I didn't really have a real strategy at the time. I was kind of, I was interested in doing trust research, and I was excited, and I was reading these great articles by this Professor Kurt Dirks, and I totally loved what he did, and I just started emailing with him. Right? I was kind of being naively enthusiastic, and I was just emailing with him and asking him all kinds of questions about his paper, and so basically we got to talk. I just approached him and we talked over email. Then decided that I was working on this paper, and I just asked him, I'm going to the academy, I'm working on this paper, and would you be willing to have a look at it and maybe comment on it so I can get some feedback because I want to improve it? And he said yes, so that was a good thing. So we met up, and we had this conversation, and through that we kind of built a relationship. And it came to the point where I really wanted to go abroad for a while during my PhD. And then, of course, I would have really liked to work with him and go to his university. Also because there were some other faculty members there that were doing really relevant research in my area. So, basically I just asked, and I said, is there a possibility for me to come over? And it turned out that it was possible. So I guess, and that's my overall recommendation, is that you should just take initiative, right? You shouldn't wait for anybody else. You shouldn't wait for opportunities to come along. You should pursue opportunities. And I just asked him, and he said yes, and we arranged it. And it was a wonderful visit and productive in the end with a co-authored paper. And then after that, I heard from Nicole that she said that wasn't a conventional thing to do, but I also asked him to be in my dissertation reading committee, and he actually came over from the US to the Netherlands during my PhD defense to ask critical questions. And so once you get in touch with somebody like that, there are all kinds of ways in which you can, all kinds of things that you can do to build relationships and ultimately also have a productive work relationship with those people. And then the question, one of the pitfalls or one of the disadvantages or barriers could be that you don't have a lot of legitimacy when you're a PhD student in the beginning. Who's this Bart de Jong guy that's emailing me? And so I don't know. I mean, you would have to ask him what made him agree to do all the things he did. But I guess for me, I think his answer would be that it was my enthusiasm, and it was just he just really liked this energy, and I guess that kind of convinced him that this PhD student, he sounds enthusiastic. Maybe I should give him a chance.
I guess just the flip side on that, I think in some ways it's easier to ask and connect with some of the people as a PhD student.
Yeah.
Because I think often
so too.
people are more willing to do it for a PhD student because it's part of the developing coaching mentoring. Whereas kind of once you're faculty, once you've got your PhD, there's more the expectation that you stand on your own 2 feet. So I think there's also, you could tend to be a pitfall, but
so the mentor, of course, could be your supervisor, but doesn't necessarily have to be your supervisor. And I know from Kurt Dirks that he had a very good mentor, and I think he was also, in that sense, he also had that mentoring spirit. And even now, I meet him during at the academy and at trust workshops, and I'll have lunch with him. So last academy, I had lunch with him, and we sat down, and he just basically said to me, okay, what can I do to help your career? And that's a wonderful thing if you have somebody like that that's willing to do that for you. And so that's great to find somebody like that. And so that has been really helpful, I think. And then, of course, the other thing is that you're not only establishing a relationship with this scholar, but then you also indirectly access his social network, right? Which is, a lot broader than mine, and a lot broader than yours. So, you get access, you build relationships both directly and indirectly through this way. So building relationships with peers, and that's the point I wanted to make here, is that, like I said, you're in this for the long run if you stay in academia. In other words, your peers now will be your colleagues forever. For your whole academic career, these will be, unless of course you switch to different areas of research, these will be your colleagues. So it's a good thing to, I think, invest in also